Hello, I'm Elgato. Welcome back to, welcome to Japan for the very first time. I'm super hyped to be here because it's been one of my, goals, dreams, whatever you want to call it, for the longest time to come to Japan. And now I'm actually here. Everything looks so surreal and crazy, and I can't quite process it. So I figured, why not do a little bit of a travel vlog style thing, except instead of a normal travel vlog, given that we focus on fun facts on this channel, why not just intersperse some random things that, again, look a tiny bit surreal to me, and share some fun facts about Japan. So here is 5 or 7 or 10 or 3, however many happen, fun facts about Japan. Hope you'll enjoy the video. Give me the things that make me feel good. But let's get straight into it. That seems without context. I mean, like the video and subscribe and stuff. But if you have things that will make me feel good too, go for it. But anyway, so with that said, Japan. First fun fact is that Japan only, opened foreigners for the first continuous time. Even though nowadays Japan is known for doing a lot of trade with the world, they only opened recently, in 150 years ago, in 1868. Yeah, exactly 150 years ago now. And the intriguing thing about that is the reason they opened up to the world was because the United States basically, in indirect terms, was like, war or trade, you get to pick one, Japan, and therefore as a result they decided, we'll open up to the world, we'll try and trade with the world, and because they figured, either we join the system of the world, or we get, taken advantage of by it. Just, they really didn't want to, but they did. And now, despite not wanting to open up to foreigners and the world and everything like that, Japan is one of the most friendly, foreigner countries there is. Everything's been so delightful. Jeremy, can you confirm the thumbs up if you agree with that? Everything's been so fun and delightful here so far, and I think it's kind of cool that we went from 150 years ago to not trading with the world, to being one of the best traders, to being it's the third most prosperous country by GDP, and it's nice. Everything's nice for foreigners, and that's a big, as a foreigner, 2 thumbs up. I can't do 2 thumbs up to that. So, next fun fact. So this is a Japanese vending machine pile. These are everywhere in Japan, and when I say everywhere, I don't mean oh, you find them quite frequently. I mean, in this tiny alleyway between 2 streets, there's 4 vending machines here, and then in case, this is too far for you to go, there's 2 more over there. And then if you take a right turn, within about 20 seconds, there's another 2 more. They're everywhere in Japan. So let's take a look. Jeremy's we're gonna see what they've got for sale, because I would like to buy some vending machine stuff. We've got black espresso, not sure what else is going on there. We've got Miu, ice blend latte. We got a decent amount of coffees here. Energy Gym is the name of this one. Can you get a zoom on this? What do you think about Energy Gym, Jeremy? Do you think it tastes good?
I thought it was JIM.
Oh, Energy Gym would
I'll
be
make
quite
Jim.
cool, right? We got Lipton Apple Tea. We got Boss Cafe on Labs, Black Boss, Craft Boss. I think Premium Boss. Ooh. Boss Double Impact. Boss is clearly a good guy over there. Don't worry about your luggage. Jeremy's been super worried about his luggage the entire time he's here. Maybe a random Japanese person will steal it off him. Luggage is a very common target, you see. We've got vitamin C. We've got black tea. We've got straight tea, because don't want any of that bent tea over here. Don't wanna. I know the angle you're going with. It's alright. It's clever not to say it, Jeremy. It's called subtle humor. We've got Pocari Sweat, we've got Crystal Geyser, Premium Gold, more Craft Boss coffee. We've got Gay Craft Boss coffee. So it's more clever to say it when it's not actually. That's humor right there. Precious Coffee Moments, milk coffee. There's so much selection here, and again, this is just this vending machine. There's another one over there. Vending machine culture, isn't it exciting? Actually, wait. Second fun fact about Japan: vending machines are everywhere here, and when I say everywhere, I think the fact that there's 4 here, 2 there, 2 over there, that proves a point. And the reason for that is partly because Japan loves technology. They're one of the most technologically advanced societies, as I'm sure you know from the fact that if something's Japanese, it's probably better. I have a Japanese toilet, and that means I have a fancy toilet, right? So yeah, Japan has a lot of technology, and one of the first things is having smart vending machines. These all accept the equivalent for Oyster or Subway or whatever card. You can just tap. You get your thing. It's kind of cool, because sometimes you're here and you want some pocket coffee. Sometimes you're in the mood for it, but you don't want to grab a coin out. You really want your sparkling Poca Sapporo, or your vitamin, or you want your what are all these names? Straight to you. If you want any of those things, then you can just pay with a card, and that's kind of cool. And the reason they developed this system, the reason it's cool smart vending machines, is because Japan has a people problem. So second fun fact that actually isn't quite so fun, but it's important to know. Japan is one of the very few countries which is shrinking in population. If you look at the top 10 countries in terms of population, they're all growing pretty big. China is massive. The United States, because of immigration mostly, but it's growing in population hugely. However, Japan is the opposite because they have a birth problem, as you're probably familiar with somewhere in culture, and they also have a big stigma against immigration. Although Japan loves tourists and they're very friendly, like I said earlier, they're not so that you can't really become a Japanese person if you don't live here. You're always going to be a visitor more than someone who stays. And there's something about that which is, I mean, it makes sense. It's interesting, but it does then have the small kind of, I guess, downside of like, oh, if you don't produce and you don't bring in more people, the population goes down, and they have an aging problem. So an aging problem, a population problem. So instead of having convenience stores, it's a convenience robot. Japan. This is our hotel, Nippon Bay Hotel. You need to grab your bag because we're going to go in. It's going to be hard to record over this. So this is the first capsule hotel I've ever seen or stayed at, and this is the experience of going into it. But I figured if we're going to stay in Japan, especially Tokyo, where it's wildly expensive, you know, oh, they've got free umbrellas. That's nice. That's a good touch.
What is that? Oh, they're pictures of umbrellas. I see.
I think they're technically parasols, by the way. But let's not pretend we know the difference too much.
Nice garden.
But yeah, so we're staying in Tokyo, and Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities to stay in the world because, fun fact, it's the it's the most populated metropolitan area. Around 36 million people live in it. Did you know that, Jeremy?
No.
Do you know how many people live in the London Greater area?
In London Greater area?
Yeah.
50 million.
It's about 8 million. Now, you ruined it. You ruined my point. Okay, 8 million people live in the London Greater area, and that's the largest city in the EU and in most of Europe. Here, 36 million. And because of that, hotel rooms are very expensive because a lot of people come here for business to stay. And we're talking several $100s for a pretty good hotel per night. Or you can... what went wrong? I pressed it before.
Could you clarify? When I said 50 million, I meant the UK.
Oh, that's not too far off. It's about
52,
65.
right, isn't it?
65.
Okay.
Immigration.
You and your geography.
Going back to my previous point, we actually grow quite fast as a country because we accept about 600,000.
Have we just come?
So no, we are. We're here.
I have no idea what is going on.
So, but fun fact, we're doing it, Jeremy. We're doing it. Okay, so Japan is one of the most populated urban area in the world. 36 million people. It's the most prosperous city, and it's this interesting thing that to me points out the city-urban divide everywhere. So even though Japan's population is, shrinking, falling to the point where lots of traditional jobs need machines to replace them, trains, vending machines, etc. We're not going anywhere. I just what has happened? Like it's taking us down and up, but we're let's just get out. Even if we're in the wrong place. We're in the wrong place.
Front entrance, but this is the entrance, Andrew. That's where we've come in.
It's
not. So we've got to go to 2.
Oh!
Front desk and that.
So, we're keeping this going. Fun fact number 3, and it points out the divide between cities and countries, because even though Japan's population continues to shrink, Tokyo is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. And that's because people don't want to live in the rural areas. There's a big rural flat in Japan, and they move to places like Tokyo. Oh, that's so nice. So yeah, third fun fact.
It is so much cooler in here.
I could sleep there even. So the fourth fun fact about Japan is that convenience stores, especially in the large cities, are very, very, very widely used. And your favorite thing, if you've never seen this, is that the most popular convenience store chain is 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven actually started as an American chain. I believe a Japanese convenience store chain bought it out, and now it's actually technically a Japanese convenience store that happens to be in America. But everyone knows 7-Eleven as the American international food chain. It's here in Japan, and convenience stores like this one are way more widely varied than they are in, say, America or, say, your country, because they're not just there for, like, you buy some packaged candy or you buy some beef jerky or something that you can trust. They have a lot of other goods that are, like, fresh, healthy, and we're going to go on for the first time, actually, just for a little bit of fun. So, like I said, there's a whole bunch of things that 7-Elevens are famous for. I guess it varies by country, but in Japan, like, you can get a good meal, you can get a tasty meal, you can get some of the best stuff from one of these. For instance, Family Mart fried chicken is famous. There's like egg sandwich. There's a lot of weird things that people will tell you need to try, and it's usually from 7-Eleven. So we're gonna go in and let's just get the first peek, because there's one thing in particular really fun. Everyone wants to eat onigiri for the first time. Because in London at least, you can buy onigiri, but there's like 2 or 3 flavors from like a specified sushi shop. But obviously, we're in Japan, so sushi's a little bit less niche, and you can find a lot more flavors. So, theoretically, please look at this line, by the way. This is just a QR. But yeah, oh, it's here. So here, instead of just having 2 or 3 flavors, there's this many. There's beef short rib flavor, there's salmon roe, there's seaweed Japanese basil. Which way do you say it, Jeremy?
Basil.
Okay, basil. Like basil brush?
Like basil brush? How do you know basil brush?
You know, why would I not know basil brush? Like, how do you know basil brush? We've got egg flavor. Actually, there's not as many as there meant to be. There's like only like 10 flavors here. What a rip-off. But no, the point is, you see a lot of different things. And the convenience stores here, they serve a lot, I guess, high quality food like you can trust. Like, look how everything here looks fresh and new and good. And there's a lot of sushi, of course, which is great. Like, I wish I had this exact sort of thing. Like, egg salad, it's meant to be delightful. Everything here looks so good and it looks fresh, and you would be able to eat it. So, 7-Eleven in Japan. Not only is it popular, not only is it widely known, but it's also very fresh, very healthy. And if you come to Japan, not that you should, but you could eat entirely out of 7-Eleven and have something different, have something actually Japanese every single day, which is wonderful. You shouldn't do it again, but you could, and that's fun. Fun fact number 4. And just as a quick example, I don't want to be too rude here, but like if you look at everyone in the line here, you can see how everyone has something like I just mentioned, like they're getting something fresh for lunch because it's roughly lunchtime right now. It's 4 a.m. for our local body clock, so a little bit of a messy thing, but everyone's there getting lunch, and they're all getting fresh lunch from 7-Eleven because that's a thing you can do, and I love that. Also, I forgot to mention this fun fact. 7-Eleven, if you ever come here from abroad, they're one of the, in most places, they're the only place that will accept international cards. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Diners Club, whatever else you have, it won't be accepted to any conventional machine. They have different things here. It's like in the Netherlands. Fun fact, Netherlands has the same issue, where you have to go to specific stores for it. And in Japan, it's just 7-Eleven and maybe the airport where you might find international. So yeah, not only is it, you know, fresh, cheap, affordable convenience store stuff that blows your convenience store out of the water, but also they'll take your card if you're foreign. Too fun. So the 5th fun fact about Japan is the fact that the average Japanese house only lasts for about 30 years. And the reason for this is complex, comes down to like earthquake protection, the fact that they have to rebuild the country after World War II. But yeah, if you build a house, if you buy a house yourself, the odds are 30 years time, again on average, you'll be destroyed. So this is a little bit misleading. I'm not looking directly at the camera. We'll keep it going, so this is a little bit misleading though, because the average scrapped house in Japan lasts 30 years. So bear in mind there are many houses much older than that, but you know, the reason I can't do anything today. I can't talk at all.
Too hot.
It's too hot in Japan.
Too hot.
It's 30 degrees and humid. It's not good. Someone's gonna leave a comment and be like, "Hey, did you know that it's actually 40 degrees in Arizona? Therefore, 30 degrees isn't hot anymore."
While they're sat in a nice air-conditioned living room.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's the worst thing. But yeah, the average house in Japan lasts for 30 years on average. Was that me or was that? Is there a guy in there?
I think there's a guy in there.
I thought it was me standing on there. It lasts for 30 years, and there's a whole bunch of factors behind that. But the interesting thing this leads to is a used house is worth very little, unless it was literally just built.
It's the little things, the little breezes from inside.
But this actually means that getting a mortgage on a house is near impossible if it's not brand new. It's kind of it's a similar situation to flat leases in the UK. You can get, if you have a 60-year lease on a flat, getting a mortgage for that is really hard. Except here, you've got to consider every house is basically a 30-year lease to begin with. And because of this, you'll see a lot of gaps in Tokyo. Actually, we went starts with gaps, so really we'll just keep going and then find one. Down there, maybe? Okay, so I've time traveled a little bit, and I've gone about 1,000 kilometers into Western Japan because I wanted to deliver the last little fact here. It's not necessarily fun, but it's really important to remember with a place like Japan. So yeah, I'm in the city of Hiroshima, which is most famous, of course, for being the site of the first ever nuclear bomb that was detonated for wartime purposes. The atomic bomb, the A-bomb, whatever you've heard of it as. Over here in Hiroshima, you know, in 1945, as a part of the end of World War II, America dropped a nuclear bomb onto Japan, atomic bomb. They dropped one here in Hiroshima, and it killed roughly 140,000 people. Then they dropped a second one a few weeks later in Nagasaki. And the interesting thing about this is that the reason that I wanted to come to Hiroshima, and the reason who comes to foreign to Western Japan and would recommend it, is because I feel like a place like this is always important to see. Even though you know, it's always been on my, I'd like to really drive that home with actually seeing it, because when you hear that, like, oh yeah, so that World War II thing, wasn't that crazy? There were some big bombs at the end. I feel like it's not fully driven home. Japan is a really fun country. There are lots of great things. It's like, oh look, there's funny maid cafes and there's arcades and there's like you know, the subway systems are weird, and oh look, they've got screens and ads and Pokemon everywhere. Whatever you're thinking of when you think of Japan, it's all fun and it's all stuff you should go check out. But it's also important at the same time to get a little bit of a balance to see some of the history, because for everything good you see in history, there's also some bad that is important to learn from. And in the case of this right here, seeing the devastation. So right now we're in Hiroshima Peace Park. It's a park which is, you know, like it used to be a densely populated metropolitan area. Now it's just a huge park. And one of the best examples of this is a few kilometers from the bomb site. Again, all the way over there, it's one of the new surviving buildings. This is the Design Exhibition Hall, built in 1915, and this is what survives. Again, this is one of the very few buildings that had anything remaining at site all of that way away from the bomb. And it's important to see stuff like that and, you know, have it always in mind, because without seeing you know, the physical effects, without realizing that a bomb really hit here, you don't realize what the people of Hiroshima realized in 1945, that war has some downsides. When you think of war as being this, you know, this abstract concept of other people who don't have the same beliefs as you that you want to go and kill, sometimes it can make some sense. But when you realize when war is this close to home, when indiscriminately one night, you know, just everyone around you dies, you start to realize a bit more that maybe it's not so great. And I think it's a key part, even if you are pro-war in some way. I don't think this is a political opinion, but if you're pro-war for some reason, seeing the other side of it at least is quite interesting. And seeing Japan and the way they've reacted to this is really quite fascinating. Hiroshima is now, you know, instead of, you know, doing some other things that you could have done, Hiroshima has become one of these centers of peace. There's a lot of work to promote peace and the end of nuclear weapons around the world, because when you've been on the receiving end of something, you appreciate a lot more than when it's a vague concept. And again, changed my view a little bit, and I think that's kind of important. As it's also worth mentioning, one of the important things about this that I think is great role model for other countries is how Japan handled being nuclear bombed. Because there are so many things you could have done, you know, to be popular. Be like, you know, actually, let's blame the Americans for this one. That it's clearly all the imperial, whatever word you want to pick, or let's blame the nuclear weapon, which to some extent the people here have done. But instead, they accepted some amount of blame. Like, yeah, when you get involved in such a deep conflict, stuff like this can happen, and that's an important thing to do. Rather than trying to blame some other foreign power for a thing, by taking some amount of responsibility, they even say, like, because of Japan's national actions. When you do something like that, it's a lot easier to understand. It's a lot easier to get to the point of where we are right now. And basically what I'm saying all of this is, there's the famous phrase, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And I think that's why learning history is important. That's why a little bit on this channel, but mostly on the second channel, I like to cover history. There are a lot of really big historical events that go under the radar that really can be learned from. And all of this is one of them. And again, if you ever come to Japan, Hiroshima is an interesting enough city by itself. There's some palaces, there's some stuff like that. You know, you might find something in this city, but it's also important to see the key aspect that has kind of shaped Japan since 1945, and that's why I'm here today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is a bit of a somber ending, so I'll cut somewhere where I'm happier. What went wrong? I pressed it before because we accept about 600,000.
Have we just come?
We're not going anywhere. I just like what has happened? Like it's taking us down and up, but we're. Let's just get out, even if we're in the wrong place. Oh.
Front desk, oh.
So we're keeping the scar. Thank you very much for watching. Never think that war, no matter how necessary nor how justified, is not a crime. Did you make this?
Yes.
Are you from Hiroshima then?
Yes.
We're teachers of Danbara Junior High School. Our school is located near Peace Memorial Park. This is a peace project. Let's exchange peace messages with friends from abroad. We hope our project will be one of the efforts to make a better world. We're very happy you write a peace message for us. Thank you for your cooperation. Wait, I've got a good one here. Love is greater than war.
Oh.
Thank you very much for watching. That's good.